Yeah, normally I would be on the stage with Julien Foliot, who has been preparing the second part of the presentation and also the demonstration. But for medical reasons, he had to undergo surgery. Nothing bad, so everything is fine. But he's forbidden to travel and to fly, and coming from France by car or something like that, especially after surgery. So we have set up a Teams meeting. Allegedly that works, so we tried it out. It could even be recorded. But yeah, so please bear with me. I have a few introductory architectural remarks. Yeah, maybe you can mute your phone, Yassir. It's mine? Perfect, thanks. Because I wanted to give you the background on what we are trying to accomplish, why we did it, and what design options we had. All of you know the basic communications model in data spaces, that you have software components. The database support center calls them participant agent services, and these components would be the software realizations of these participant agent service. So typically they are called connector, and it's some software instantiation, especially of the database protocol, because this is currently the only actually standard on ISO track to allow data assets to be exchanged. So that's perfectly fine. And has been used in I don't know, many database projects. Is using Gaia-X. So the original identification method of any that was built into connectors since very early reference architectures, but especially brought forward by Gaia-X, because this was the largest funded database project, and it started in 2021. They had, of course, when they wanted to verify the identity of the other connector, you know, this is the data provider, and normally the data consumer would send a request, so it would start here, hey, give me the data. And they would include some credential or ask for some authentication there, and then the connector from the provider would say, oh, that's okay. And I really send you the data. And before I can send you the data, I need to check the agreement. There is a negotiation phase there that needs, of course, some identification and some ODRL rules as well. So there was a need for verifiable credentials to be sent around before the data can be shared, really. So that's just data sharing. So you have to do the negotiation and credential exchange before that. And at that time, when they created the first very large connector, the EDC connector, or actually it was the database connector built by some PhD students in Fraunhofer in 2016-17, that was where it started. Honestly, I was there in 2021 at the mobility data space. But then, Gaia-X, with a very large funding of the German government, I don't know, 100, 200 millions, they said, oh, what credential, and the initial database protocol used X509 certificates, and it was very centralized. That was not the idea of the implementers. So they said, before we use the database protocol, we need to exchange credentials. What credential exchange protocols are out there? And they did, I am not aware of the outcome of the real results or details. They did an evaluation of existing protocols. I don't know, DITCOM was present there, others, and also, but unfortunately OpenID for VC was not present, so they started after that kind of due diligence to develop their own credential exchange protocol. Decentralized claims protocol. It's not about claims, it's actually sending in exchanging credentials, verifiable credentials. Of course, we all know that inside a verifiable credential you have claims, but claims to a subject, etc. This is important why we do that at all. And then they have wallets, and the wallets implement a DCP protocol part, because this is where the credentials are stored, and then you identify that this is a protocol. And then we have, of course, Gaia-X credentials. And the DCP protocol normally should have been able to send them around as well. Actually, that has not been the case for reasons I will not elaborate here. They corrected that because we are working in the Eclipse Dataspace Working Group. Upon our request, that was corrected. So the decentralized claims protocol now can send around any type of credential. In previous times, they were looking at the content of a credential. It's like if your HTTP request does not allow every HTML page to be sent over it because it obeys or it does not follow some rules, which is a no-go at that level. So that's solved. So Gaia-X credentials can be exchanged with the decentralized claims protocol to the extent that you have a wallet which can store these things. And these, at the current time, the EDC, you know, the Eclipse Dataspace Components is a framework. So you cannot talk about an EDC connector because there is no such thing as an EDC connector. There is a way that you can specify in the EDC framework how to build all the components of the EDC framework, including an EDC connector building component. So once you press then the button and add all the extensions to the EDC components, including an identity hub, including extensions for the TCP, DSP, whatever protocols in the connector. Julien will explain that better. Then you get a connector, so you get a distribution. You all know that Gaia-X is following in the credential exchange the European EIDA standards, which is using OpenID for VC. And the other sub-protocols for issuance and and SCOP version 2. How do you reconcile that? Because you have OpenID for VC here for sending around credentials and TCP here for sending around credentials. There are two important differences. OpenID for VC is developed or has been developed with human to machine in mind, and that cannot be used in human to machine. It's just machine to machine, which makes sense because just two connectors to a certain degree. So how can you reconcile? If you are following Gaia-X rules, you would never be compatible totally with the Gaia-X Trust Framework because different presentation protocols, for credential exchange protocols. So one of the integration points could be that you use simply another wallet with another credential or the same credential with an OpenID for VC port. That's workable. And very often people have, in any case, a different wallet. Very often that does not work. And the second solution would be that you can create a wallet or go for a wallet which has both ports. And then you store just a credential. We are not aware of so many wallets which support OpenID for VC and TCP. Actually, I don't know any wallet at all. We presented that as a kind of a coexistence architecture to the board of directors, so the 26 directors, and they said, yeah, they understand the solution, does not work, double the effort, two wallets, too complicated, does not scale. If you have 10,000 companies, kind of looks okay. What are the other options to do that? And of course, I mentioned already extensions. EDC, the EDC framework is a very convoluted Java framework, so it takes you about 10 indirections until you get to the point where really something is done, other than refactoring or something like that. But you can do that. You could write your own OpenID for VC extension. And move that later on to the project, so it becomes a part of the official distribution, and then you have connectors with TCP and OpenID for VC. So that would be easy. The other option, Pierre, my predecessor, sometimes favored was that we build our own database connector, of course using OpenID for VC. The board did not want to give us the resources for doing that. However, because the EDC is practically the most used and it's a brand name, every project, if they don't know what to use as a connector, use EDC. It's used by Catena-X, so practically that's the default choice. There are 25 other connectors, but that's kind of the default choice also for large installations. So the decisions I made actually, and the board agreed, was that we invest time, and we have done a little bit longer than just for the presentation here, that we actually build such an extension in the EDC. So we hired Julien, a Java developer. I've prepared that strategically a long time ago, but we kept it a little bit secret, wanted to see how it goes. And this is how it works. So we now make the EDC framework fully compatible with Gaia-X, with OpenID for VC. So eventually then, if you use the EDC framework and you install both the DCP and the OpenID for VC connection, then you are interoperable with any data space ecosystem in the world. For the native OpenID for VC fans in the European Union, and they use that, you are using, and those connectors, the Fiverr connector, the TNO, TSG connector, they use OpenIDs for VC. Or you can also link to any Catena-X DCP connector. So this is kind of how we integrate that. It needed an investment, of course, but we were prepared and the board agreed to that, so that we can once and for all solve the issue, oh, the EDC is not Gaia-X compliant. I mean, compliance is completely the wrong term. You should have corrected me, but I'm convincing I understand it's technically compatible. Yeah, because you can't have a connector, a software component being LOA compliant. It's a service. But this is what we are working on, and we have completed the first implementation. And I would like you, please, in the editor, in the review room, to switch to the Teams meeting. So we tried to connect to Julien via Teams. So if that doesn't work, I have a recording of the session, actually. But I wanted to see him. He's well, allegedly he's well.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you a little bit.
Perfect. Okay.
And we can see your screen. Perfect. Yeah. Everyone is fine. I told everyone that you are perfectly fine, that you are in possession of all your capacities and faculties. please confirm that you have not lost your leg and you are not. And we did not save costs and you had to stay at home. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Everyone can hear me well and see my screen well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's begin. So hello everyone, I'm Julien Foliot, developer, Java developer in the Gaia-X Tech team, and today I will show you all the work that we done around the OpenID for VC into EDC components. So for this demo, in the first time, the first part of the presentation will be just slide to explain what we done and what we're gonna do. And the last part will be a complete technical demo that you can take as a reference for the tools that we will release soon after that. So in this presentation, we will see like EDC essentials, some schema around EDC, and after that, OpenID for VC implementation inside EDC. So let's begin for couple EDC essential. As you may know, Eclipse EDC is an open source framework to create data spaces, and its key components are the connectors, and the framework used to communicate is the DSP protocol, aka the data space protocol. This protocol is really simple. It's kind of mainly two big parts. It's the control plane and the data plane. Okay, the control plane is used to monitoring the exchange, and the data plane is used to, as the name suggests, to exchange the data. So into this process, you have the connectors that will negotiate contracts and the rules. And in this control plane, you will verify the rules and the policies inside. And if everything is okay, then you can exchange your data through the data plane. So the objective is really simple, just to ensure that everything is under control. Here you can see a schema of what I just explained. It's two connectors. You can say on the left and on the right, the two white square are two connectors, and they have their own control plane that communicates, exchange credential, and so on, checking policies. And when everything is okay, they can send their data through the data plane and exchange them. So this is basically the schema of the image illustration. of the DSP protocol inside EDC component. Now we will just have a layers on how this is, how technically that it's implemented. So EDC is a completely modularized framework. It works around extensions, so you can plug in everything that you want on top of the base framework. So you have the core module. This is the essential building blocks like contract management, policy engine, and so on. And you have this mechanism of SPI, Service Provider Interface, and you can plug your own extension. And this is what we done with OpenID for VC. We made our own extension of OpenID for VC that we will release open source, of course. The slide. Then just a quick word on the EDC. So we will explore a major advancement inside the ecosystem, the integration of OpenID for VC into EDC. Okay, so this is really the big project that we were working those last months. A quick layers on Gaia-X. As you may know, it's an European initiative for directed data infrastructure around sovereignty, transparency, and inside it, at the root, we have the verifiable credential, and this is where the OpenID for VC protocol comes into play. So a quick word on VCs, as the most of you, I think, already heard about, but just a quick reminding. VCs are cryptographically secure, tamper-proof, and privacy digital attestation. So we can certify facts or attributes about persons. It can be, for example, like professionalization, certification of diploma also. And OpenID for VC, a quick layers on OpenID for VC. So OpenID, it's, I think most of you already maybe heard or use OpenID. It's a really a big, broad adoption framework to exchange, to do authentication. And then it's really interesting that we also use it around the VCs. So this is OpenID for VC. And it just describes on how an issuer can deliver a VC to holder through this framework. Okay, so this is the main tool that we will see after. So here I will show you a little diagram, two diagrams of how we implement OpenID for VC into EDC connectors. So this is the normal flow of OpenID for VC, but inside EDC connectors. So first of all, this diagram, it's for all the diagram that you will see, it's just the big picture. And with the tools that we will release after, you can adapt and choose what you want, choose when you want to execute it. It's really up to you. So here we have two connectors, and this part of the diagram is just about the wallet setup and the credential setup, okay? This is the thing that you do before doing any kind of exchange, of authentication exchange. So this is really basic. You have a user agent inside connector, you have a wallet and a credential provider that can be everything, you know, it can be the, I don't know, a school to deliver a diploma, for example. And the classical OpenID for VC setup is the entity send a credential offer, you accept it, and you receive the credential, and you stock it in your wallet. This is the main thing that you will do in every OpenID for VC setup. And then you have an example of a complete exchange, almost complete in a sense that here we will have a connector that asks for VCs to another connector and you verify it. But you can also, just after that, doing the same in a reverse. So maybe here we have an example with Thales and Airbus. Thales will ask VCs from Airbus, and after that, Airbus can also do the same things and also ask the VC for Thales. So here you have the basic OpenID for VC flow, very, very basic. You have your other agent, your connector, your wallet, and the way to do is just to create authorization requests. Inside it, you have a presentation definition that contains the information that Thales wants about Airbus. Airbus find it, match it, take it from its own side wallet, and he sends it back to Thales that can verify the presentation. In this schema, this is a server-to-server authentication. So there is no pre-authorization. This is a pre-authorization code, okay? But you can also do a user-to-server communication like normal OpenID with authorization code. It's also possible. But in our case, we start with this framework because it's really more easy to explain and maybe more common in our ecosystem. So yeah, just last few words on the control protocol. You have very few steps: authorization request, extracting presentation definition, find a credential, reserve the presentation request that you will receive before, and fulfill it, and send it back to the data provider that asks it. So here we have the data provider, the data consumer that are both connectors. So our team has worked those last months to build a tool, to build the libraries, to permit you enabling OpenID for VC into your connector. We will make those following tools available open source really, really soon. So you will have basically 4 tools: a complete OpenID for VC authentication server with working with Vault ID tools. So we use Vault ID tools for verifying, issuing, and wallets. It is really, 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 really cool tools, really reliable. We'll also supply a client library, a Java client library, that you can import in your project for easy connection to the server. So this is the things that I will show you in the demo just after. So you can just do HTTP request or use the library client if you are in Java. I think maybe we will also doing client library in JavaScript and TypeScript, of course. You will have the tools an EDC connector, as we talk about, that implement this client. So you can either take the client or directly take the connector. And you will also have a demo of the connector into MVD, minimum viable data space. That is a fork of the EDC MVD. And this is that tools that we will just see just after this presentation. Okay. So stay tuned for the release of the tools. And thank you. Now I'm gonna do the demo. If there is any question or anything, I can process.
Any immediate questions to Julien? Yeah, Paco wants to have a workshop tomorrow in Spain. No, actually we released. Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, actually also the way how we moved it into the official Eclipse project. We are working. Javier is sitting in the back, so we intend to move that in the appropriate way to the full to the official project. But it's not complete the implementation because we have started doing that in the minimum viable demo. minimum viable data space part, which demonstrates that, and we need to move that to the core connector projects as well. But we rather want to do that with the project together, because that's really then interfering not, or complementing that. I don't, yeah, I want.
Why Vault ID instead of the identity hub of Eclipse components?
The Identity Hub is in a makeover officially, but the makeover is of doubtful fate, honestly. And right now it was easier for us to use an external library which is known. The Identity Hub is undergoing potentially a revision, maybe also going into OID for VC, but the fate is unknown and we didn't want to wait. And the connector would be more important.
Yeah, there are two good reasons additionally to that to use the Vault ID stack, which I will also demonstrate in the same scenario. One is it's open source under Apache 2 license, and it's one of the most mature and widely available stacks available out there. Yeah. And if you change to the enterprise version of the stack, you have full support for the latest version of OpenID Connect for verifiable presentations out of the box. So nothing stopping you from using that in production. So it's the right call, I say.
Thanks a lot. Just for the interest of time,
yeah, sure.
Can you please begin? I'm sacrificing a little bit of the Q&A because this is a very contested topic, or has been contested in the past, and hopefully that's kind of a path forward where we can put aside or lay down these kind of controversial discussions and slides. I'm ready, or the crowd is ready for the demo.
Okay, let's go. So, quick word about the demo. So, I'm going to present you the schema, an illustration of the tools, the repositories inside IntelliJ, kind of the code, and I will start the demo. So, today we will see the tools. What are the tools? The first is the server, as we may talk in the presentation of the slide, with the Vault ID tools inside. So this is kind of a wrapper around Vault ID tools, and maybe in the future we will add some tools, swap some tools, but you have this abstraction around it. We will see the Java client, so the client that you can import in your project. And there is also a Java client SDK tester. So this is a demo in the demo to show you how you can use the SDK in a classical Spring Boot application. And we will see the connector, the extension, that you can use in your connector in EDC. And it will be showcased in the MVD implementation demo that we will do. So let's go into more technical things. So here we have the server that is a classical Docker Compose. So you may use it in a Kubernetes environment for production, but here for the repository, it's obviously a Docker Compose. We will see the repository of the complete wrapper server, I mean. So I will speak less abstracted in this part of the demo. Here you have the services, issuer, wallet, verifier, and the server is a wrapper around that. It will talk with the tools, and the client will talk with the server. Okay. So here we have the tools that we will start. And this server will talk with the tools, and you will talk with the server. Okay, this is a kind of proxy of a wrapper around the tools. And then you have the client that you can import to talk with the server. So maybe I will show you the Swagger. That is the Swagger of the server. Okay. So you can either directly do your request, so you can write your own request, or you can use the SDK that we done. Okay. So as I said in the presentation, we will also normally release, this is not a difficult task, release the TypeScript client. It maybe will be useful because a lot of people are developing on SJS or some kind of this framework. So in the demo, we will see that we use directly the client. So here we will start the Docker Compose to start the tools. Here we will start the server that is a wrapper around the tools. This server is the one that gives all these endpoints. This is a complete normal Spring Boot server, really easy, really mainstream. And here we have MVD with the connector that is here. A quick layers. For the moment, we develop the connector here, but when the tool will be released, the connector will be outside of the MVD, of course. Okay? We just develop it here to the demo, but it will be available outside. So the tools, the server, the MVD with the connector here that will be released in a separate repository. And the two last is just the client, the Java client, and the Java client tester. So the client code is here. It will, every tool will be open source. So if you want to contribute, doing modification, proposing features, you are welcome. And here is the Java client tester, or maybe more showcase, to show you how you can use the SDK in a Java project. So it's basically a matter of importing the dependencies inside the Maven, or in our case, in the MVD, in Gradle, here we import the library Java client. Again, if we didn't release yet the TypeScript client, or if you want to do in Python or other language, if you want to do your own library, your own call, you can implement the endpoints, and you can also take the API docs here. Oh, sorry, because the server is not started, but you can take the docs and you can generate your own client in Python if you use a tool like OpenAPI Generator. By the way, the client is generated with OpenAPI Generator to avoid any kind of problems. So in the demo, in the MVD here, the MVD is a fork of the EDC, minimum viable data space, and we took the version 0.12 because it was the version that we find the most stable. So for the people that may want to use it when it will be released, it's mainly IntelliJ showcase because you have to run the configuration inside IntelliJ. So you may use IntelliJ to use it. Okay. We didn't modify anything than adding OpenID for VC connector. So every tutorial, everything of the tutorial that is explained inside doesn't change. So this is why we will not showcase the data plane and the control plane features because we didn't change it. It's the same MVD. So if you want to try exchanging data, you can either take the normal MVD or take it and execute it after that. Today we will just focus on OpenID for VC implementation. Okay, it's just a showcase. It's not a real data space. So to begin, I will start the Docker Compose, and I will start the server, and I will start here the configuration. Sorry. To understand what will be done, you have to have in mind that we have two actors. Okay, the two actors that will exchange VCs through OpenID for VC will be those two ones. So when I will start it, you will have some logs here that I will show, okay? And the two one are provider Q&A and consumer core. Those two one will exchange their own VCs through OpenID for VC.
Julien,
For
can
the
you
purpose
speed
of
up
the
a little
demo-
bit, please?
Sorry.
Yeah.
For the purpose of the demo, I had some logs at every step, so you will see into the logs all the process. Okay, so let's go up. You can just do a simple Docker compose up. Yeah, everything is started. Now you start the server. Okay, and then I start the MVD. So there is a few seconds of startup because there is 7 projects. Just quick second, few seconds, it will be okay. Up. Voilà. Okay, this one is okay. And this is not this one, this is this one. Not yet. Okay. Okay. Okay, perfect. Nice. Okay. So you can see here that you have the two connectors that exchange, and at each step you can see the logs. Create wallet, login wallet, you can see the data. They go over all the steps that you can see here. Setup wallet, exchange, authorization request, fulfill authorization request, verify verifiable presentation. And at each step, you can see here the step like retrieve presentation definition done. Then you see the data, finding credentials, the credential that was found. And at the end, you can see verify presentation, policy results, and if the presentation is verified. And you can see that on both sides with the logs. So for everyone that want to test, it's really easy to deep dive because you just have to see the logs. And if you want like see, I don't know, verifiable presentation, you can do a command F or ctrl F up, you are in the logs and you have the steps. So this is really a good showcase to permit you to easily use the SDK inside your connector. And for a last word,
yeah, Julien, your last sentence, please.
That use, yeah, sorry, just the last sentence. You can see here the Java SDK client that we use. It's okay for me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, and excuse for the large delay, but the demonstration that it really works was, I hope, it was a bad decision. Maybe. Thanks, Julien. We will continue for the sake of time. No questions, but we will continue that in a deep dive. No. Ask. What do you want to? I mean, it's Javier from the Eclipse Dataspace Working Group.
Thank you. So I will be taking out the 2 minutes from my presentation later, okay? One small comment and one small question. The comment, congratulations and thank you. I think that was very much demanded by the community and it is sending the right message of avoiding fragmentation and trying to work together. So thank you very much for that. The question, this is great because we are solving the issue that, as you were saying, we will prove that using EDC is compatible with Gaia-X. Can we think on the future something like the other way around, that using the current EDC setup with the DCP verifiable presentations would be compatible with the clearinghouses and the compliance at Gaia-X? Is this something we can do in the future or think about?
We need to think about that. Let's think about that. Yeah, thanks a lot. Again, Julien, you are dismissed. Thanks for the presentation and speedy recovery.